disturbances. So there's an issue here about how we depict it, and obviously that gets on some of us nerves, and then we become reactionary. And in that reaction, yes, there's 10% of us, whether the young men or otherwise, who will take the law into their own hands out of sheer frustration, not because of wanton brutality or wanting to bust up the place. It's just the sheer frustration of how we always have to be put into this zone. We are the enemies because they don't care for us.
Right. So let me ask a question then to the panel. Was the Black Resistance protest, was that uprising? And if yes, why was it uprising? If no, why wasn't it an uprising?
It's a demonstration, man. Enough is enough. How can you watch a black man with, I can't breathe, and you stand there and don't have no consciousness to go and deal with those who are dealing with them?
So that's what I'm saying. What was it uprising?
3 weeks later, Joe, 3 weeks later, a black man was shot 7 times in the back.
Yeah. So it's a continuation.
So what's the demonstration doing, bro?
Well, look, demonstration is people.
It's how we define ourselves. That's the main thing. You know, how we, when we're uprising, yeah, it's how do we define the term? How do we express or explain the term uprising within our own within our own language? You know what I mean? Never mind anybody else's language. You know, we've got to stop talking their language. We've got to define it as for us.
In our language, we just boss it, you know? We just boss it, you know?
No, bro, no. Yeah, go on, sorry.
Yeah, I was saying, when you say our language, you know, sometimes we don't use no language. Those who care and want to be there, get up, stand up for our rights. It's them who are putting labels on us. I prefer to use terms like community action. And yes, within that community action, there is an element of reaction, which might be deemed offside, for want of a better terminology. But they put all of us into that basket. They neglect the reason why we are taking action in order to stand up for our rights, and put this negativity on us. And then the whole people, everybody thinks, oh, it's always the blacks who are rioting. It's always the blacks who are doing that and always doing that. Because we don't use the language that the media uses, because we don't use language. We just appear, make our presence felt without particularly labeling it. And at the end of the day, we go home, hoping that those amongst us who've got the ability to make change, whether it's politicians at the highest level or politicians at the local level, begin to tackle the system that is institutionally racist. How many times have you seen so many reports? I go back from 1976 when they had the Race Relations Act. I come to Scarman. I come to Macpherson. I come to Theresa May race disparity audit. I come to Lenny, who deal with the police system and all that. And for years and years and years, I've been in England 60 years, Brian, and I've seen so many reports about how the system always have a report into what's happening about black people. But to ask you this question, have you ever seen anything practical, anything purposeful come out of it in terms of
suffocating in analyzation, bro? That's what we're doing.
All right, let me open up. Let
go on.
Pause, Joel. Let me open up.
Sorry for cutting you, bro.
Yeah,
No,
okay,
that's fine. Let me open up to the perspective of the two women on the panel in terms of what you said in terms of what has changed. Yeah, changed.
Okay, what has changed? Since, I mean, it depends. Since when? What are you talking about? The fact is, the thing that's changed the most recently is the advent of camera phones, which has made more difference to any kind of action, such as, you know, the murder of George Floyd was captured on video, and it's irrefutable evidence.
Yes.
It's not hearsay. It's irrefutable evidence, and that's where you have the real difference, is that people can actually see with their own eyes what is happening.
Yes.
And that's why you had a worldwide reaction. I mean, let's face it, there were Black Lives Matter protests that consisted entirely of white people. I mean, and people were all over the world were going out and saying, Black Lives Matter, this can't carry on. However, what they were protesting about was, yes, they were acting local, but they were thinking global. So mostly people were reacting to the racism that's prevalent in America. But I think to bring it to, to bring it back to the UK, I think things are changing because of those protests. I don't know how significant they are, but immediately there have been reactions from places we don't usually see. So we now are drowning in adverts with black and brown people in them, which we've never seen before. And this was entirely a reaction to Black Lives Matter. And so on social media, what has happened is that lots of, white people are saying, is this Africa? And, people are sort of exploding. And when companies like Tesco's and Sainsbury's say, well, if you're a racist and you don't want to shop with us, fine. I mean, that's a massive change, because that's about, it's about money. And money is what most things are about. So if being anti-racist is not costing these companies money, they will continue to do so. But this is a major step forward, that commercial entities have realized that being anti-racist is actually good for them, makes them on the side of the angels, and means that people will continue to spend their money with them, because that's what's actually going to change things. It's where the money goes. Follow the money. That's always the case. And with if you're even talking about the diversity, the big hoo-ha about Diversity's dance, and more people complained about that than had ever complained before. However, if a few people complain and then you publicize the fact that people have complained, then more people will complain. I mean, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. But more people registered complaints about that than anything else ever on television. But then what happened was ITV took out full-page ads in every national newspaper to support Diversity, the dance troupe, and also the notion of diversity and the fact that Black Lives Matter. Now, this is one of our biggest commercial television stations spending money. I mean, they weren't, it wasn't something, they didn't do it the next day. They booked this space. To book full-page ads in newspapers, it takes a few days to do that.
Okay, I'm going to move on slightly.
And they did it.
I'm going to move on slightly before we go to the next question. Yeah.
Camille hasn't said anything.
Yes, exactly.
I'm going to Camille to kind of round off this. So we talked about uprising and rights. Yeah. So would we be in this situation if COVID was happening at the same time as George Floyd? Because as we know, this is not a new thing in terms of people being filmed, being killed. We know about it. We see it for the last couple of years as standard. It's not new to us. So was COVID the catalyst for protesting, right? If that was around, would we be at the situation right now? I know it's a big question, Camille, but I just want you to kind of...
Yeah, why did you have to give that one to me? Yeah, that's right. I was ready for following on from Rhoda, and then you go and drop that one on me.
You should follow up from Rhoda, because she...
No, but why I said that? Because we talked about uprising, yeah? We had more than enough opportunities to uprise, yeah? We, as people, we had more than opportunity to uprise, We never uprise when police kill somebody in their car. Like, we've seen it many a time before, in terms of that. So it's like, we're here now, Is this going to finish at end of the month? And we're back to square one, You talked about that. Is this is the last of the uprising?
I don't think it's the last of it. And I think that you're trying to connect two things that I think they're separate. I think COVID is a global pandemic. It's something happening everywhere. The issue with Black Lives Matter, this is something that happens everywhere the same way, but it's a different thing. Yeah, it's like somebody gave me the example that with COVID, we're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. Yeah, and that's how you look at the Black experience in terms of COVID. For me, when you say will Black Lives Matter finish at the end of the month or whatever, it will if that's what we want it to happen. Yeah. I work in education, and for us as Black educators, we are on a journey. We see ourselves on a journey, and that journey is to ensure that our young people are represented in the curriculum that is taught to them. That is our journey. Our journey is to ensure that Black teachers are not pushed out of their jobs, are not pushed out or forced out of their jobs because of the color of their skin. Our journey is about ensuring that instead of there being only 2% of Black head teachers in this country, that there are more of them leading schools with Black children in them. We are talking about transforming the world of education. And when I talk about education, I'm seeing that happening in other areas. I'm seeing people saying, you know something, George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, something's got to change. And our young people are giving us a good kick on this one, because they're saying, you know, I was in a forum a few nights ago, and some young people were saying, right, well, we're not putting up with this rubbish, we're going to strike. They were going to strike about the racism in the college that they were going to school in. Now, 10 years ago, you would never hear of kids saying they're going to strike about anything, yeah? But the mood is different. The mood is different. And it's just about how we work together. Not because obviously I'm of a different generation. So when I hear these young people talking, I want them to build on the experiences I have, but I want them to forge their own path. I want them to do it without making the same mistakes that we have made. Because I think for some of us, we've kind of like got comfortable in that thing of mortgage, house, car, all those things, and we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want, you know, we don't want to have the instability of not working. Well, we're in a time zone now where everybody's losing their jobs. So what are you going to do? Yeah, what is it? What's going to make it different? All right, what's it going to make it different for us this time as Black people?
I'm going to stop you there, but it moves on nicely to the next question. And I want your response individually. Yeah, what can we do to highlight the Black British civil rights? Yeah, to ensure our young people of this generation doesn't look for direction from America, you know what I mean, in terms of that. So let me start with you, Robert, regarding that question.
Really complicated question, you know, and I'm sure Joe will get a little bit, and Rhoda and Camille will be a bit
Picking on me
deeper than I
again,
get.
Robert.
But I look at it like this. I look at this like it's all about a stake, right? Do our Black kids or our younger generations now want a stake in Europe? Do they want that, right? Now, we have very different terms about Africans in the diaspora. We have African Caribbean, right? We have African American. You know what I'm saying? You know what we don't have? Right? We don't have African European. So, you know, what does that mean? Why is there not a term called, as part of the diaspora, called African European? Why our young kids, I think, they'll move away from the American politics once they've got the stake in the European politics here. You know, don't even call it British, man. You know, we're on the continent, we're in the continent of Europe. You know, these guys, I am one of the last of the, well, my generation, with the last of the African Caribbeans. My son is an African European. You know what I'm saying? You know, their stake is here, and what they want is a stake here, and to get a stake here, they have to get involved in the politics as, you know, Africans, but you know,
don't want
Europeans
my,
of African descent.
I'm sorry, Robert, I'm not
You don't
calling
get
my
that.
children or my grandson African European.
Okay.
Go away with that,
All
right? Because I want
Yeah.
them to hold on to their heritage. I don't want them to lose that,
which is what?
right? Which I am a Guyanese. That is my background. So I'm sorry, they have to know it and they have to love it. Because I'll tell you something, if they don't know themselves, they don't know where they're going. Yeah, you can talk about Europe. You can talk about them growing up in Europe, but this distinguishes us. And I'm sorry.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, Camille. You missed the point. You missed the
Really?
point. The first thing I said was the Africa diaspora. Yeah.
I heard
do
you.
we have a stake? Do our young people want a stake in this place? You know what I'm saying, or not? You know what I mean? That's all I'm asking. That's what I'm saying. The thing is, you know, do Africans belong here?
We belong wherever we want.
Well, look,
exactly. And do they have a stake here? Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say, Camille.
Let me get Rhoda, please.
Yeah, can I say something? I'm not African. I was born in London, right? So when people ask me where I'm from, I say London. And if they want me to be more specific, then I say, well, where are you really from? I say, well, I was born in North London, but I grew up in South London. And, you know, I don't feel remotely African. I don't feel African. I'm not African. My father left the West Indies in 1923, you know. So
and did he never go back?
He visited, yeah, but he didn't go back, no, because he left. He came to Europe. He went to Europe. He actually went to live in France. So I do feel very European. I grew up with French as being a second language. My children have French as a second language. Yes, I have Jamaican heritage. I understand that, but I'm not Jamaican. Nobody's going to mistake me for a Jamaican. I'm not Jamaican, you know, and I think, and that's fine. I mean, I'm mixed race, so I'm not, I am myself. I am Black British. I'm mixed race Black British. My heritage is partly Jamaican, but actually my life is here and my identity is here, and that's fine. I'm completely happy with that. You know, I went to school with there were 2 other mixed race girls in my class. There were 5 of us who were non-white in the school at that point. So there were 2 other mixed race girls in my class, and we argued from morning till night. I still know them now, still friends now. We argued through the night on more than one occasion to actually decide where we felt we fitted and what our politics were. So I'm completely happy with who I am. And I've been to Jamaica, I've seen Jamaica, and it didn't feel anything like home. It felt like a completely foreign country, which is exactly what it was. I'm British. I am a European, because anyone who is part of the continent of Europe is a European. I don't need to make yet another term to make myself an African European, because an African European is somebody who's got African heritage. I mean, you know, we've all got African heritage. That's the truth.
Okay, I'm going to move on. So it seems like we have to still look to America for civil rights.
No, we don't.
No, it doesn't.
No, we don't. No, of course we don't.
It sounds like that to me. It sounds like that to me. If I'm a
no.
You weren't. Well, in that case, Brian,
you weren't listening.
You weren't listening, Brian. You weren't listening, Brian. You weren't listening, Brian.
Let me explain. If I'm a lame person listening to this conversation, I want to know in terms of looking into my civil rights within.
Well, then, okay. 3 words: education, education, education. The first thing you have to do, we have to radically transform the curriculum so that history is taught globally, not just the history of one place, not the history of one face, one skin color. We need to radically transform the curriculum so it is inclusive. So, and therefore, if people know from day one, where they came from, where their grandparents came from, where their parents came from. And let's face it, you know, the first Black Britons had like black skin and blue eyes. You know, go figure. That's what they look like originally.
All right.
So the notion of this being a new thing is nonsense. And like, you know, we have our own. We had black people here from the Romans. You know, if you want to say Africans, they came with the Romans. There have been black people here throughout British history.
All right,
so
I'm going to stop you there.
European history as well.
Joe, I see you there biting it. I see you there biting the button lip there, Joe. You like?
Sorry.
You like to add?
Okay. Firstly, let me big up Rhoda for being who she is. Okay, because once again, we always seem to be reacting to people putting us in boxes. When I come to England, they call me colored. When America bust it, when King and Malcolm X, Angela Davis, and those giants came through, I was black. Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Within a short space of time, I'm African Caribbean to accept my African heritage, but my Caribbean business big and loud. You hear me? Now, when I ask people from the same Caribbean where you come from, they don't say Caribbean, they say Jamaica, Antigua, Nevis, and all that. When I ask African brothers where them come from, they don't say Africa, they say Nigeria, Zimbabwe, and all the rest of it, you know? So what I'm trying to say, there is a commonality amongst us in terms of the color of our skin, and where we, the originals who created this world we live in and have been put into the slavery box, we're the origins. But we allow ourselves to be put in different baskets because of the way British society operates in terms of ethnicity and all that. Next thing you know, moving on from African Caribbean, I've become a BAME. What is BAME? Well, if it was anybody ask me what BAME is, I would say black.
I can tell you what it is.
Asian, right? And minority European, not minority ethnic. But I don't want to be no BAME. I'm an African Caribbean, proud of my African heritage, but proud of where my navel string is buried in an island called Montserrat. Now bring it on to the point you're talking about black civil rights in England. We've never had it. Because of the same mentality we have about the island mentality, we are reactionaries. So what happens in London, what happens in Leicester, what happens in Manchester in terms of black people, there's never been a coordinated approach for our betterment. Marcus Garvey said back in the day of us, if we don't organize, we will perish. And to this day, I subscribe to that. It's not what Joe says, it's not what Brian says, it's not what Robert says, it's not what Rhoda says and the other sister. The issue is collective responsibility and use our collective strength to bring about the change that is so necessary in England today. Black Lives Matter didn't start because of Mr. Knight. We fight from the day I come to England and tell the boy chase me around London. Never run for my life. Okay? So Black Lives Matter is not a newism. Black Lives Matter when King and X and them are fight for it. The sadness in England, because of the way we are as a community in the different parts of the regions and the cities, we've never managed to bring together a holistic approach so that we can take down Babylon within an organized framework. And as you can see for yourself, everything in England or America has come through organization, whether it's organization of the hippies or organized, without that key word. If we're not organized, they will divide and rule us because they'll say, Brian said that, and Robert said that, and Joe said that, and Robert said that. And in that regard, they're not saying anything positive that we all agree with. They're trying to stab us in the back and turn us against each other. So the bottom line, there's never been a British civil rights, but in terms of what's happening today, when you drew reference to the youngsters, what the youngsters need is leadership. For those of us who've experienced it for so many years, to get them to corral themselves in an organized way so that they understand how the system works. And from understanding how the system works, you can begin to change it.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Right. All right, 1 minute for everybody, just to kind of...
Just one thing, which is really vital to say.
1 minute.
I genuinely believe the biggest problem in this country is class. Class is actually a bigger problem than anything. And until we tackle the class system, because let's face it, in education, who's right at the bottom of the ladder? It's working class white boys. They are, in London, they are the worst achievers. Okay, well, I'm talking to London then.
Sorry.
They're the worst achievers in London.
Okay.
And so it's class.
All right, okay, that's fine, class. Right, Robert, please just respond.
No, Camille, let Camille go, because she has...
It's only a minute, we've only got 2-3 minutes.
The biggest issue in this country is race. It's not class. Class is, I see class through the lens of race. That's how I see class, because myself as a black woman, working class, right? They see me first, right? They don't ask me how much I'm earning. They see me first, right? And when you talk about white working class boys, I can tell you wherever they are, they will always find a job. You look for a black working class boy, he'll be below that white working class boy. A white working class boy can come out of school with no GCSEs whatsoever and still get on with his father or his brother's little firm and get a job. Our boys are still on the street.
Okay, come on. 10 seconds to mention about civil rights and how do we move forward to our young people? Yeah?
What?
Yeah.
That's Robert.
For me, we have to stop running away from the solution. We've analysed it for too long, right? We're actually suffocating in analysation. We're in a bit of analysation now, and it's suffocating it, right? We've come to conclusions, right? We jump us about foot, or whatever they call it, about all these reports, McPherson, whatever it is report. We know what the conclusions are. The thing is, we know what the solution is, but we just keep running away from them all the time. That's what we do.
Okay. Thank you all for your input in this conversation and this debate, and I'll go on, we know, in terms of our normal circles. For me, it's just like you have to burn down Babylon, but hey, that's just me. No. We go to Tara now. We go back to Tara just to kind of finish up this debate. Okay. All right. Tara.
Hi. Thank you so much, you guys. That was an amazing
debate. Yeah.
Definitely. I think there was some real good points and perspectives that came through on that. And I'm back, I can't even say who I'm backing on there, because Camille, I love I agree with you. There is an issue within race here. I also agree with you, Rhoda, that there is a class issue, but I think the bigger point is the race issue. And we really need to tackle that as well. So thank you very much to all the panelists on there. And it takes us nicely into our next point. We have a small short film coming up next, which is, can you help me out with this?
Yeah, this short film is called Should Have Helped the Darkie, and it captures a period in history, Black British history, in Notting Hill Gate, and the idea of a family being literally terrorised in their own home in that period. So it's a really powerful film.
But I think moving on from that discussion, we are going to be looking at the Black Power movement in this country, because it wasn't just in America, it was over here as well. And we have some great men and women to uphold to fight in the struggle.
Yeah.
So over to the film.
okay in there, baby? Hey? Answer me. Answer me now. You not hear what me say? Me say fi stop it. You two hard ears. Go sit down.
Shh, all right. Okay, shh, don't cry. All right, it's all right, I'm here. Let me see.
What have you done?
I did what I had to do.
Lord of God, Winston, what have you done? You don't think about we, your family, and what might happen to we?
Why you say that? You is who me do it for. But look on our baby's face.
Why you have to beat the boy? You couldn't just talk to him. It's Terry Johnson's son. Jesus Christ, this is never gonna
I
end.
don't care if it's the King of England himself. Nobody can lay a finger upon my daughter, you hear me? No one.
So you want to play the hero? You know something? In this country, no black man is ever gonna be no hero to nobody. You always gonna be the villain. So what you going to do now? Hey? Hey?
Listen, Marcia, this is we mother country. And they gonna understand why I had to do what I did.
Mother country?
Yes, look, this is we home now. They have to help we.
Stop with all this mother country nonsense, Winston. We haven't got no mother country. It's not Africa. It's not Jamaica. And it's definitely not here.
Why are you saying that? It's not true. That is not true. This is we home now, and they will help.
You mean why me say it? Because it's the truth. They don't want us here. You don't see how the people them treat we already? Are you too blind by all the nonsense them feed us back home? You see any gold on these streets? Hey? Do you get any welcome from any English people? Matter of fact, you get any work from the English people? A nice place to stay.
Now watch how you speak to me inside of my house!
Winston, last week I tried to help an old English woman on the bus. She turned around and you know what she said to me? Keep your hands off me, you thieving donkey. I know what you're kinda like. Bad seed. There's plenty good people in this country. Okay. Go quick! Go, quickly! Inside, you see what you're doing? They're going to kill us all! Where you going? Get a telephone. What for? To call the police. Police? Jesus. Don't worry yourself. Hello, my name is Winston Mackenzie. My family is being attacked by a gang of men carrying weapons outside of our house. Yes, number 148, Latimer Road, Notting Hill. Please hurry. Yes, hello, sir. Yes, my family is being attacked. I need your help immediately.
I speak to the dark fella that just put Terry Johnson's lad into a coma. I'll take that silence for a yes then, should I? But I'm sorry, we don't help darkies in this force, despite what they may have told you in your own country. But I suggest you go back there and fast some, because you aren't welcome here anymore. You got yourself in this situation, and I suggest you get yourself out of it.
Hello? 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 Hello?
At night, when you have nothing to do, you can take a walk.
They're not coming to help us, are they?
There you will
Are they?
walk and enjoy the fresh air, admire the beautiful scenery.
Hi, you just got me for a minute, but we're just going to lighten the mood a little bit now. Tanai Brown. Enjoy.
Yes, people, greetings. This is Tanai Brown again, once again. This track that I'm going to perform for you is called Can't Get You Out of My Head. You can still download this from iTunes, Amazon, all leading internet stores. It's coming from my forthcoming album, Rebel Soul. Run the track. Ooh, yes. Na 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 na, yes. Got to be more than friends, yeah, yeah. Oh, yes. We had a wonderful time. Let's do it all over again. I wanna be more than friends, not just for the weekend. Yes, I told everybody I've got to see you again. Lord, I better count to 10. First I gotta see you. I can't get you out of my head. Yeah, I can't get you out of my mind. I can't. No, I can't. Well, I can't get you out of my mind. Hey. You've got a zest for life, a spirit that is oh so pure. I noticed that right from the start. For me, you gotta be the cure for my lonely heart. With one I can share a part of my life. First I gotta see you. I can't. Yeah, I can't. No, I can't get you out of my mind. I can't. No, I can't. Well, I can't get you out of my mind. Hey. Ooh, yes. Na 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 na, yes. Got to be more than friends, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. We had a wonderful time. Let's do it all over again. I wanna be more than friends, not just for the weekend. Yes, I told everybody I've got to see you again. Lord, I better count to 10. First I gotta see you. I can't. Yeah, I can't. No, I can't get you out of my mind. I can't. No, I can't. Well, I can't get you out of my mind. Hey, I can't. Yeah, I can't. No, I can't get you out of my mind. I can't. No, I can't. Well, I can't get you out of my mind. Hey, I can't. I can't. No, I can't. No, I can't. Thank you very much, people. Lord of mercy.
How
and I
good
just rock into
is
that
it?
Tano Brown, man. Just want to keep on skanking to that Tano Brown. Yeah, sweet memories, yeah.
Do you know Tanai?
I don't, but I like his music.
Okay, well, Tanai is one of our Leicester's very own.
Right.
He's been going for many, many years now, and he's sung with a lot of the greats as well. We used to, I think he used to sing along with Still Pulse at one point, or know them and be on the same schedule as them as well. So he's been around, he's earned his stripes, and we absolutely love Tanai. Is a wonderful spirit and a beautiful voice as well. So we're going to get back to it, because I know we've given quite a lot of information, and you know, the last video was quite powerful.
Yes.
Even just the name of it. So moving on from there, we're carrying on talking about the uprisings that happened, and one of the main things that happened that we very rarely talk about and is very rarely known is the Bristol bus boycotts. We all seem to know about Rosa Parks
Montgomery
and Montgomery, but did you know it happened here? It happened in the UK. We had the Bristol bus boycotts. Do you know anything about that?
I don't. Well, I know it happened, but I don't know what spurred it. I don't know what kickstarted it off. I know it happened.
Well, there was a colour bar for the buses.
Just like in the States?
Well, not as in people could go on them, but as in drivers who could work there.
Right.
And they wasn't employing the black drivers. So there was a real kind of, they boycotted for quite a few months. And there were some major people that got involved in that. And there was an intervention from the High Commissioner from Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad's back there. So what happened, it was in it had relevance of changing the Race Relations Acts in 1955. Now, in Bristol in the 1960s, there were over 3,000 residents from West Indian origins, and some of them had served in the British Army in World War II, and some of them had been immigrants to the country. So there was a large number of black people around the St Paul's area. So this was what had kind of, there was a real issue of employment, and this was one of the ways that it was put in place. Yeah. So we've got that story. Please find out more about that. As I say, I'm telling you these bits and giving you these little interludes, but I haven't been able to get you everything, because otherwise we'll be here all night.
We'd be here all night. We'd be camping out in the studio.
We really would.
Yeah.
So the next video that we're going to show you is about mangrove. There was the Mangrove 9.
Yeah.
And this was it was a restaurant in London. I think it was it?
The Elaborate Grove?
I think it was, yeah.
The Grove, the Grove, that's right, yeah.
Yeah?
And that was like, it was like a hub, a meeting place.
That's
People like Darcus Howe would go there and discuss things with the community. So it was a community, it was a restaurant, but it's for people to go there and meet and discuss, about change.
Yeah. And a lot of that was about education. Yeah. Even back then, it was all about education and finding out about ourselves. So I'm going to let you go look at this video, and then we're going to come back and tell you a little bit more about what was happening at that point, because this is really the start of the Black British Power movement in this country.
Yeah.
We've complained to the police about the police, and nothing's been done. We've complained to magistrates about magistrates, and nothing's been done. We've complained to judges about judges, and nothing's been done. Now it's time to do something ourselves. That statement was made at the Mangrove demonstration and represents the essence of black people's experience in Britain. That since we've come here, we've suffered a long train of abuses by the police with the active knowledge and support of the British state. And those abuses have been able to be carried out under the pretext that, quote, black people are criminals, ponces, and prostitutes. That is a myth that has been created about us. That is a statement that was made by one police officer who gave evidence in the Mangrove case. Now, the demonstration that black people made against the harassment of the Mangrove restaurant, the subsequent resistance in the courts, is an active explosion of that myth.
Blood, 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 blood and fire. Blood, blood, blood and fire. Oh, mercy, Lord. There is no more water to out the fire. There is no more water to out the fire. Let it burn, let it burn.
The black community, not only in Notting Hill but all over this country, has a certain experience with the police. And that experience, in my terms, is one which could be easily described as brutal, harassing, and generally repressive. And that on the 9th of August 1970, the Action Committee in Defense of the Mangrove Restaurant, which is a West London restaurant in Notting Hill, called a demonstration because that restaurant had been consistently harassed by the police. There were 3 raids on the restaurant, ostensibly for drugs. Nothing was found. And so the community responded with a demonstration.
It has been for some time now that black people have been caught up in complaining to police about police, complaining to magistrates about magistrates, complaining to judges about judges, complaining to politicians about politicians. We have become the own shapers of our destiny as from today. The precedents have been set. Young kids have committed the greatest revolutionary action that has been known in this country for some time. They walked into a police station and took it over, but the objective must be clear. The objective was to free their brothers. What our objective is today, what is going to continue to be, is a concerted, determined attempt to prevent any infringement on our rights.
What they seek to do is not to close down a restaurant, but to close down what they see is an area where black people can collectively put up some kind of resistance to day-to-day harassment by the police. And I believe the mangrove is not just negative in serving as a place where people can put up that kind of resistance, but I believe it serves a positive purpose in that people come there and sit and talk and exchange views in the community, which this community has lacked for a long time.
Black people! Black people!
The object of the demonstration was to visit every single police station in the area. We went to Notting Dale police station. When we got there were more policemen surrounding the police station. We went to Notting Hill police station, by which time it had accumulated in the minds of the policemen who were on that demonstration that we had taken that issue too far. They believed, what are these cheeky West Indian niggers doing on the street, challenging our authority with such confidence? They sought to break the demonstration up on Portnell Road. You had Commander Gerard, you had Commander Maggs on the spot, you had numbers of inspectors, numbers of chief superintendents, and a whole host of constables lined in military formation. That is what we were presented with. "25 years of frustration exploded. In that explosion was Jonathan Jackson, what was taking place in Trinidad, the burning of the buses in Jamaica, the struggle of black people all over the world exploded on Portnell Road.
I believe that why that attack was launched and why subsequent to that attack by the police being launched, this thing was blown out of all proportion, was that the government had certain things in mind for black people in relation to the population as a whole. They wanted to justify the immigration bill. They wanted to justify saying that black people had to register with the police, that black people had to ask permission to have certain jobs and to move from place to place. They wanted to justify these kinds of measures. Where have you heard anywhere of a demonstration in a community of about 150 people hitting the Manchester Guardian, the Yorkshire Post? That thing is projected to the population for a particular reason.
In fact, there was evidence in the trial that the CID, Special Branch, and police photographers were on the march right from the beginning. Photographs taken before and during the demonstration were used by the police for making arrests 9 weeks later. Rothwell Kentish, riot, affray, offensive weapon. Roden Gordon, riot, affray. Radford Darkus Howe, riot, affray. Godfrey Millett, riot, affray. Frank Critchlow, riot, affray, offensive weapon. Barbara Beese, riot, affray, actual bodily harm of policeman, offensive weapon. Anthony Carlisle Innes, riot, affray, grievous bodily harm of policeman, actual bodily harm of policeman, offensive weapon. Glasgow Boyce, riot, affray, grievous bodily harm of policeman, actual bodily harm of policeman, offensive weapon. Althea Jones LeQuant, riot, affray. 3 separate charges of actual bodily harm of policeman, offensive weapon. The Mangrove 9, 2 women, 7 men, 31 charges.
there had been demonstrations in Britain before that provoked much more fierce fighting than that one. There were demonstrations in Britain before in which police horses were killed and policemen were maimed. Those charges never followed those demonstrations.
Some of us were arrested about the 14th of October, which is about 9 or 10 weeks after the demonstration, and taken to Marylebone Court, charged with riot and affray. And the magistrate there threw out the charge of riot after the DPP had made very strong case to support the case of riot. Anyway, that was thrown out. We then went to the Old Bailey.
They lined us up in the dock, prisoner style, and the charge of riot was reintroduced.
The charge of riot was reintroduced by the Director of Public Prosecutions. Such a reversal of a magistrate's decision in a high court can be done by the prosecution without rhyme or reason.
Judgment has come and mercy has gone. All we caught shall leak out and split up. Judgment has come and mercy has gone.
The Mangrove 9 trial was to be one of the longest in British legal history. It lasted 10 weeks, during which the black community showed its constant solidarity. The 9 defendants took an unprecedented step. 7 were represented by legal counsel, and it was decided among them that 2 would defend themselves. This gave the 9 vital freedom of political maneuver in the court. With their hard-earned experience of the 10 weeks of the trial, the Mangrove 9 analyzed the meaning of the ordeal they had just passed through.
See, in this particular case, the judge came with his orders from his masters, which is, this case is about a real situation involving people who are prepared to come to say what that situation is. His responsibility is to camouflage the whole situation, because his masters know what the situation is. The black population, on the other hand, know and want to represent, and he is supposed now to take charge of this situation so that all these things wouldn't get through. And every single lawyer but 2 of them know what they have to do in order to assist them to do that. They want to defend you, yes, but in defending you, they will also have to assist the judge. Is an agreement that they have.
They want to defend you as an individual,
Yeah.
which is
assisting the judge to camouflage the entire situation of police brutality in this country.
It seems clearly to have been an attempt by the state to prevent the growth of organised resistance within the black community, which had an independent leadership. And that seems to me to have been the real point of the case. And it follows a whole series of other attempts whenever black people have attempted to organise independently to smash that organisation before it got really solid, firm roots within the community.
Powerful stuff. I mean, in the discussion, one of the things raised was the need for the education, the curriculum to change, to incorporate world history, to tell the whole story. That film needs to be been part of the curriculum.
Well, yeah, because they were the first people that were pushing the Black Power movement in this country. We hear all about those stories in America, but this was the same thing that was happening here. We had our own people that we can uphold and be proud of, and Darcus Howell.
There's some key names: Obi Ibona, Linton Kwesi Johnson, the great poet, Olive Morris, Althea Jones LeConte, Farouk Donany, Marla Sen. There's just so many key figures from that period.
And Olive Morris is one of my favourites that we really need to hear more about, and somebody that most people don't know about. She died when she was about 27 of cancer, which was very unfortunate, because I think if not, she might just be the Angela Davis of this country.
Yes.
She did so much in the short time that she was with us with regarding black history and black heritage and moving that story forward. So moving on, one thing that, again, I'm not going to show you any kind of imagery from, but one thing that we really need to talk about was the New Cross 13. Because at this point, there was a birthday party, and could you give me the names of those, the two young ladies? Sorry. It was a joint birthday party that was for Yvonne Ruddick and Angela Jackson.
Right.
It was an 18th birthday party, and they call it the New Cross fire, because there was known to be some far-right interaction in that area at that point, and their house was set on fire when they had an 18th birthday party, and 13 children died. I'm going to name those children because I think they need to be, we need to remember those. We need to remember our fallen souls.
Yeah. Andrew Golding, 19. Owen Thompson, 17. Patricia Johnson, 16. Patrick Cummings, 17. Steve Collins, 18. Lloyd Hall, 21. Humphrey Jeffrey Brown, 19. Rosalind Henry, 17. Peter Campbell, 19. Jerry Paul Francis, 18. Glenton Powell, 15. Paul Ruddock, 21. Yvonne Ruddock, 16. Anthony Burbick, 19.
Now, these were souls, these were children that were at a party. They'd gone to celebrate the 18th birthday, and one of the young ladies, she also passed away within this. This happened, and there was never any retribution for it.
No one was brought to account.
The police were never brought to justice. The culprits were never brought to justice, and the police didn't do a good job at finding out what would happen. This is what led to our next uprising, the Brixton uprisings of 1981. Oh, sorry, have I got that date right?
81, yeah.
Yeah, 1981.
Absolutely.
So we've got a short video for you now.
As mass unemployment hit the black community hardest, 1 in every 2 black youths was left out of work.
We had a feeling that we just weren't wanted in this country, weren't wanted, that we were despised.
In January 1981, bitterness intensified when 13 black youngsters were burnt to death at a party in New Cross in southeast London. 3 months later, the failure to charge anyone for what the black community was convinced was a racist attack seemed a betrayal by the police.
We felt the police just didn't care. There was tensions already between us growing at the time, and that just pushed us further apart more than ever.
You know, when I came to this country, I was told, if you get lost or if you have any problem, just go to a policeman.
Oh, yes, we were told that.
You know, you wouldn't ask anybody directions. You would go to a policeman because you see them as nice people.
But by 1981, the relationship between police and the young black men growing up in areas like Brixton had degenerated to a point of no return.
I'm in the underground, and I'm in Oxford Circus, changing tubes to come to Brixton. And that's when I first noticed these couple of men. They grabbed me. Excuse me, I'm arresting you for suspicion of pickpocketing from persons unknown. And I'm thinking, me no pickpocket, me a Rasta.
Almost every young black man in Brixton had a story to tell about police harassment or brutality.
I remember getting on a bus one time from Brixton going to Clapham, and they came on the bus and said I was nicking a purse, took me off the bus, couldn't find nothing on me. They just gave me a good kicking and sent me away. You know, what could you do? There's like 5, 6 police and just you as a little black kid. They didn't arrest no one, they just beat us up and left us there.
I didn't join the police as a racist, but whilst I was in the police, I became one. We just went out and made a beeline for whosoever we wanted to arrest. So you'd say you'd seen them try 2 or 3 car door handles. You'd seen them sizing someone up at a bus stop, and you'd see them put their hand towards a lady's handbag. People had no chance of proving their innocence. Evidence was planted, that was a common practice, and assaulting people was almost a daily occurrence.
They used to raid dances. I was in one particular dance where they battered down the door, beat up women, beat up men. There was countless police vans outside on Elm Park that night, and I was one of those in one of the police vans taken back to Brixton Police Station. My face pressed down to the floor. There was a boot upon my neck, upon my back, and then we were dragged out to the police cells. Sitting in that cell and hearing the screams of the older guys along the cell corridor, it was just frightening, frightening. So that's when I realised that these stories weren't extravagances. It was actually happening.
We were the occupying army, if you like, and thinking of the people of Brixton as the enemy, that there wasn't a good person amongst them, that they were all criminals, that blackness equated with criminality.
Despite the close attentions of Brixton's police, there was one place where young black men did feel safe. Railton Road, in the heart of Brixton, was known locally as the front line.
It was the only place that you felt really comfortable, that the police wouldn't just always be able to grab you.
From this cruel world, we could go there and just be with our kin. We thought it belonged to the West Indian community.
Everyone gathered on the front line. They had pool places, they had gambling houses. It was just like a little activity place.
It was a hub of activity down there. It was just always something going on the front line, always.
It was the place to be, the place to be seen, the place.
1981, I remember that year because it was the year I transitioned from primary school to secondary school, and I was totally aware of what was going on in London with the Brixton riots, even though I was that young. And I was aware because I followed Sound Systems, and Sound Systems was the newspaper of the day, and I followed Saxon Sound System, right? London, living in Luton, I followed Saxon, and the MCs would tell you what's happening, so I knew about what was going on, about that rising through Sound Systems. Yeah, so that's a really strong memory in my mind. Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, because I do remember my uncles being in the sound system, and they were really political. They knew their stuff even back then. Back then, and it did come through the music. Yeah. So what have we got next?
We've got a godfather, the godfather of what I do, poetry, a man called Linton Kwesi Johnson, who has inspired me from day one to where I am now. Upon his shoulders, I stand humbly, a giant, and he's going to deliver a piece about that period of time at Brixton riots in '81. So watch Linton Kwesi Johnson. Watch it now.
It was in April 1981. Down in the ghetto of Brixton, Babylon them cause such a friction that it bring about a great insurrection, and it spread all over the nation. It was truly an historical occasion.
Some may suffer, some may burn, but I know that one day all of my children gonna learn. Sure as the sun shines way up in the skies, today I stand here a victim, yes. Truth is I'll never die.
When we mash up plenty police van, when we mash up the wicked one plan, when we mash up the swamp 81, they make the ruler them understand that we not take no more of them oppression. And when we check out the ghetto grapevine, every rebel just a revel in them story. Them a talk about the power and the glory. Them a talk about the burning and the looting. Them a talk about the smashing and the grabbing. Them a tell me about the vanquish and the victory. Them said the Babylon them went too far. We had was to burn 2 car. And 1 and 2 innocent get marred. But what? That's how it goes sometime in a war.
Some may suffer, some may burn. But I know that one day all of my children gonna learn. Sure as the sun shines way up in the skies. Today I stand here a victim, yes. Truth is I'll never die.
The Godfather, Linton Kwesi Johnson, laying the foundation. But moving forward to today, let's look at an artist who's also laying a great foundation in music.
Definitely.
And dealing with some of the issues that was going on then, which are still occurring now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Too Bad is one of my favourites at the moment. He is so articulate and really kind of telling the stories about what's happening now and what we can do moving forward. He's also got great knowledge of history. Really looking, we've got him on the panel next week as well. So
great.
Really looking forward to getting his perspective on certain aspects of where we go from here.
Yeah.
So next up, Too Badder.
Too Badder.
If you don't know, you need to get to know.
Flashback, 6 p.m. every Friday. Brought to you courtesy of Opal22's Arts Ed. Too bad I said that. Listen, we used to line up pyramids with star grids, decorate the walls with hieroglyphs of starships, yeah, and teach the craft to the kids. 5,000 or so years later, Donny, the team's still standing big. They would have you think, how did they manage it when they teethed our scrolls and they still got the plans? They nearly had me brainwashed. But when I started flicking scriptures for myself like we ain't even from the same God, they tried to play God. Like they would clone 2 brothers from the same pod to see some profit. Then sugarcoat the thing and call it the Genome Project and think Donnies in the hood don't read. They ain't prepared for the gifted ones. How you gonna make maps of the world and not include Area 51s? Like they had the blindfold, pulled over our eyes for so long, but watch our ass about to get lifted, son. Look, 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 look. We know you licked down your own towers. We know that was just part of the scheme, like a game of chess. It's like you see me sacrifice my knight and my bishop, cause really I was after your queen. Just the way that it is. Next thing is the war on terror, and they will have you believe that it's right. Don't follow them. Just remember that this the same people that tried to tell us Jesus is right. Take that out of here. Street Donnies with the will to succeed. We learn not to believe everything that we read because we come from a different breed. They drink blood, we smoke weed, and we don't celebrate Halloween like chasing mad spirits around the street. I'm chasing information so my kids ain't got no limits on the street. And worst thing, the information's free. Some people just need a street Donny who can stick it to the beat, yeah. Opal Arts 22 Ed. Log on to that. Too bad I said that.
How good's he?
He's Too Badder. He's not just bad, he's double badder. I get the name now, Too Badder. Yeah. Great name. Yeah.
He's just enlightening. And whenever he starts up, I just listen. I can't help it. I just want to hear what he's got to say next. And that's what we want in our artists. That's what we want moving forward. Definitely. So moving on from 1991, so things didn't get much better as we move forward. So 4 years later, can you remember what happened 4 years later?
4 years later. What's happened 4 years later? What's happened?
4 years later, in the same area in Brixton, 43 civilians and 10 police officers were injured in the unrest after Cherry Groves was shot in her own home and killed. And she was paralysed. No, sorry, she wasn't killed. She was paralysed.
Yeah,
I apologise. When the police raided looking for one of her sons. Just a couple of days later, Cynthia Jarrett was also, she was, the police had gone in looking for her son and they pushed her over. They'd gone in with such force and just shoved her to the ground, and she actually died of a heart attack. So there was 2 older women that was killed or maimed in their own home by the police. Yeah. And again, nothing happened. None of the police were brought to charge, were charged with anything. And again, we had yet another uprising. But you can see the connections here. When things aren't happening, when you know there's been an injustice happen and nobody is supporting you, you'll go into the authorities and they're not backing you. And in some cases, they are well, in both these cases, they're at fault.
Yes.
What are you meant to do?
Yeah, it's going to be a natural reaction, you know. It's going to push a person so far that it's going to kick back, and this happened time and time again. Exactly. Yeah.
Now, this also happened right the way across the country. We had uprisings in Birmingham, and we had uprisings right here in Leicester. So I'm going to hand over to one of our founder fathers and somebody that was very close to my heart, Wolde Selassie. I don't think without him I would be stood here today. He was definitely one of my teachers, and I will always thank Wolde. He's no longer with us, but I'm going to move over to this video.
The Burlington 8 incident, which took place in 1980, that was the result of one action, which was a group of youth actually towed a police car while it was stationary. There was no officers in it. They were actually drinking in a pub. The Burlington is a place where the youth hang out as a matter of course, and they stay there, they converse. It's used by the elder community as well. It's not just youth who use it. And the youth wrecked the police car. But that was only a culmination of a series of incidents that took place in the Highfields, because there was a lot of stop and searches. And a lot of youths were getting arrested from about January. They were getting actually fed up with people being picked up for no apparent reason. Women getting stopped on the street with their babies and arrested and taken to the police station without any formal charges made against them. In the early 60s, when I first came here, right, there was a lot of West Indian people from Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia, who were actually bringing their children over to this country to get what they called a system of education. What we did find is that even talking in the schoolyards amongst ourselves as youth, right, that the education that you got in terms of education was nothing that we could actually relate to in that sense. And books have been written about it where they talk about sin bins. And when we look back at the system, we actually found that going through the school system from about 9, which was the average age which the youth came at, to 15, is that when it came to leaving school actually, and to actually get a job and employment, you not only face the employer, you not only face the Youth Employment Bureau, but you also face what you call the careers teacher. Now that man would do his best that if a youth wanted to be an electrician, for instance, and he wanted an apprenticeship, he wouldn't get that apprenticeship, but he would get shunted into a shoe factory. He'd be packing shoes, for instance. If he wanted to be a mechanic, he would try desperately to actually get some kind of interview somewhere. But then he'd find himself working in the printers. And a lot of the youth that actually came out of our environment within our school system, is like they actually missed out, if you like, on the kind of career that they wanted to carry out. Well, in the late 60s, just after the period when they had the Martin Luther King era and the George Jackson era, Leicester in particular was affected by that kind of movement, where we had not the Black Power movement, but the Black People's Liberation Party. It was produced the first black magazine, Black Chat, that was available to black people in Leicester. Now, they had a very American brand of black power, if you like.
And basically what we were saying is justice for black people, you know, justice in education, in housing, in welfare, in health, in politics, in social aspect, all those things were relevant, you know. When they came to the building, they didn't knock on the door or ring the bell or whatever. They used an axe. One at the back door, one at the front door, and they had axe. The charge was being in possession of ganja and that we were selling drinks for gain. We was running blues parties, you know, what they call blues parties, selling drinks and food and using the money to print materials, you know, and buying duplicators and typewriters and papers and things like that.
After a 3-4 year period of lapse, there was no activity. The Ethiopian World Federation came. This was a movement which was Rasta dominated, if you like. And the whole emphasis was not politics as such, but cultural identity and diversity in that sense. And the youth began to look more towards the African continent for vision rather than to America in that. And it continued into the 80s when the bookshop developed. Well, Radley's a kind of a bookshop which originated as a stall in polytechnics, schools and colleges. We used to go around and sell books until we were approached by City Council, who had an in-area program fund which was available for developing projects, one of which they envisaged would be a bookshop. When we actually got together, it was throwing in £2 a week each, and that went towards fundraising and dance or anything that we could do to actually fundraise to get the project or to get the idea of books off the ground. And in that way, we were successful in that we accumulated a good amount of money that we could actually go down to places like London, Birmingham, to visit existing bookshops, to actually get contacts. There were 7 of us, and most of us were unemployed at that time. And to actually get and accumulate money to actually run a shop proper, it would take us a very long time. And not only that, we had ideas other than just selling books, i.e. to get a program where people can actually come to learn about their backgrounds and their origins. So basically, we learned our organizing through experience from the older days, but also we moved into a different era when we started selling books. In 1979, Leicester witnessed one of the biggest demonstrations of National Front activity and anti-Nancy League and work against racism. They had a march in that year, and after that march, there seemed to be a significant increase in the activity. For instance, temples and mosques in the area were graffitied with National Front slogans and Ku Klux Klan slogans. People were actually being brutalized on the street by groups of skinheads. And it wasn't until we started hitting back, if you like, that the activity ceased. Hitting back not only at the fascists, but also hitting back in the legal sense, that we were actually organizing to defend ourselves in terms of what goes on in the courts, and we really got to grips with that kind of situation. In saying that we did organize together, I think it was something new, especially in Leicester, that Asians and Caribbean people were actually organizing on one level or another to defend their communities and to defend themselves. That they were hitting back at a state, not only at the state, but at the fascists as well, who were actually working in the areas trying to destroy their communities. On the national scale, for instance, last year we had a series of incidents, even before the summer. One of them was the New Cross fire, And there was a series of incidents in places like Walthamstow and Brick Lane where people were actually getting their houses burned. And this happened to both communities. I think that done something to cement the feeling between the two communities. The uprisings, I don't think it could isolate it to Leicester, but Leicester was affected by last year's events in every sense of the word, that there was 3 nights of rioting in the town. Looking back at it, we always said that it was the police who actually planned the riots, as far as we were concerned, that there was no riot going to happen in Leicester, because we didn't know about it as a black community, but it was going around that there was going to be a riot. There was an increased level of police activity anyway. There were people getting stopped on the street, the usual pattern, and it was increasing. But we did find there was a lot of white youth as well, not just from the Highfields area, but from the surrounding estates.
Thank you, and RIP to the wonderful Bodysnatchers.
Right, now we've got to introduce a very special guest poet, a young man.
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, we've got Rhoda first.
Just go back. We have
Rhoda Dakar, an interview that I did earlier on in the week, and she was great to have a sit down and conversation with her about this subject. So let's hear what she's got to say.
Rhoda Dakar.
Thanks for being with us today. Today we've got Rhoda Dakar, singer, songwriter and activist. Rhoda's been in the music business for over the past 2 decades, since the 80s. I'm thinking about, because you came out of kind of, not so much of a punk, but the two-tone elements, which some of it, to my knowledge, well, looking in, if there's an outsider looking in on it, it was kind of a... I knew about the specials. I mean, I was born in 72, so I don't know the whole part of it. But there were certain elements of it that were a bit scary because we knew about the skinheads and we knew to stay away from the skinheads. So it was kind of like, and you were right in that. And I know there was various other artists like Laurel Atkins and, you know, like I say, the specials and those kind of things that were around at that time. So you were proving that there wasn't those racial elements of it, but they were on the fringe as well. How did you kind of cope with that? How, you know, did it have an effect on maybe the music that you were putting out, or?
I mean, it didn't. I think the whole movement was born out of being anti-racist. That was the whole thing about two-tone, the whole notion of it. That it was at the centre of what we did. But as for being affected by it, I think people were saying their piece. You know, they were saying their bit. And like Linval from the Specials was racially attacked. He was stabbed. I think happened to him a couple of times. So he wrote a song called "Why." You know, why did you try to hurt me? Tell me why. You know, did you really want to kill me? And so I think in that way people reacted with the with the lyrics of their songs. But to be honest, I mean, I was in an all-female band to start with. So our biggest problem was the fact that the music industry is such a sausage fest. I mean, we were fighting against just being women, being able to do what we did in that space. I mean, never mind, you know, all the other stuff. It was hard enough to be a woman.
Yeah.
And 52% of the world's population is a bigger percentage than, you know, skin colour or whatever. And across the board, women miss out across the board. And I think that was the thing that kind of fired us up a lot more than whether it was because we were this colour or that colour. I mean, we were women and we weren't going to have any of it. And it's like, you know, Nazi skinners, you know, yeah, I mean, they would come and they would see Carl at a gig, and so we'd stop playing and we'd walk off stage and wait till they stopped, and then we'd walk back on again. And then I remember one gig, Guildford, they didn't stop. We walked off stage and they didn't stop. So I went back on and shouted at them until they stopped. And then they actually did stop. And we came back on again. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, was it a culture of fear? No, I'm not really that kind of person, you know. I mean, I wouldn't say I've never been scared of anything in my life. That's not, because that's obviously not true. But, you know, I'm not, on a day-to-day basis, if you catch me in the street, I'm not going to like, you know, you can say what you want to me. It's not really going to terrify me. And I suppose I get angry long before I get scared, which is kind of stupid, but it does kind of, it means that you know, my first recourse is to shout at someone and say, how dare you, not like, oh no, you know. So that's, but I don't know why that is. That's just stupidity. That's, I wouldn't recommend that. Don't do that at home, folks. It's kind of stupid. But, you know, I don't know, maybe it was the Kung Fu classes in the 70s made me feel I was invincible.
Oh, well, thank you very much for sitting down with us this afternoon.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you, Rhoda.
Thank you, indeed.
So round about now, I should have told you earlier, because we were meant to have an artist in the studio today. That, as we have done over the last couple of weeks, and we will have tomorrow. Tonnavelli, unfortunately, has been struck with the COVID bug. Not him literally, but he's been at work, and one of his work colleagues has a positive test, and so he was unable to be with us tonight. So all of you were looking forward to seeing his work, as I was. Hopefully we'll be able to get him in at the next time. So, who we got next?
As I was saying before, next up we have a young poet, I stress a young poet, who is going to deliver a piece about his interpretation of the system of riot, what a riot means. And his name is Adisa the Verbalizer, which is obviously me. So enjoy me watching me telling you, enjoy me. Bye. When words no longer mark the fading page and perfume speeches lose their scent, they shoot sherbet fixes through fibre optic cables on a highway to the brain, prizing our minds shut. With big brother muscles, their forked tongues tempt us with rotten fruit, projected on a silver platter. Some feast in ignorance until obese, but like a hunger striker, I refuse to eat. Dissecting my potential, they're trying to scatter it to the wind, but we get up and we stand up and we can't keep quiet. Too many wrongs makes a riot. Too many children's birthrights stolen like nicotine addicts, soaking up redundant facts and dates. Conveyor belt employees, products of the state. Eye contact is illegal where I come from, now that looks can kill. Bullets travel faster than love, causing memories to clot and truth refuses to spill. 9mm shells are exchanged like cowries, the new currency on the street. 9mm shells are exchanged like cowries, the new currency on the street. I hold a 9mm shell to my ear and I can hear the sea. Cast iron screams drench me, filling my head like a Baptist choir, blowing words for an old golden horn. I am the child who's lived and died in celebration of the beautiful ones who are not yet born. Dissecting my potential, they're trying to scatter it to the wind, but we get up and we stand up because we can't keep quiet. Too many wrongs makes a riot. Too many Shakespearean acts of terror labelled peacekeeping missions. The only peace they want is a piece of land. Too many playground bullies with nuclear biceps bench pressing their superiority, causing lactic acid to seize up their brains. They're selling, then bending, they're selling, then bending the arms of the children who no longer want to play this game. Too many Hurricane Carters. Too many Hurricane Carters. Steve Biko's, Joy Gardner's, Smiley Culture's, Sandra Bland, George Floyd's, Smiley Culture, cut down before their time. Too many newspaper articles where black is an equation that always equals crime. Too many reruns of the old black and white classic called When Will Africa Get It Together, showing in a cinema in your front room. Too many B-movie rappers auditioning for gangster parts. Their house Negro tongue lashes their people as they urinate all over their art. Dissecting my potential and trying to scatter it to the wind, but we get up and we stand up and we can't keep quiet. Too many wrongs makes a riot. It's a riot when the temple becomes a market and anything's for sale. It's a riot when justice has been arrested and refused bail. It's a riot when the social fabric is machine washed until it shrinks and the next generation holds the bottle of truth to their lip and drink and drink and drink. For the riot hangs heavy in the mind like strange fruit on an old tree. It's transparent like water, yet dense like oil. The riot is a serpent that sits in a coil at the base of the spine, imploding in the head. It's a famine of freedom. For too long we've been fed this miseducation diet, but the wind is a prophet and it can't keep quiet. And we get up and we stand up because we can't keep quiet. Too many wrongs makes a riot. Too many wrongs makes a
So, do you think things have changed?
Well, they have and they haven't. So things have changed, but we've still got a long way to go. And some things, as I say, history repeats itself sometimes. And that's why things like this are so important. We have to make this information available for people to understand it, learn from it, so we can make real change. So there's been change, but we shouldn't be lulled into a false sense of some kind of security that we're there. We're not at the mountaintop. Yeah.
So we're moving on. We've gone a good couple of decades now, and we're moving on to 2011.
Mark Duggan, yeah.
A very sad period in our time. And we've got a short documentary but from his sister that we'd like you to watch.
What's your first memory of your brother?
I would think it would be when he actually, the first time he came home, when he was born. When he came home and that, we saw him with his little button nose and he was just like there. So it's just a fond memory of the time that he came home and then he had his little checkered buggy. So we always remembered that.
When was the last time that you met him?
It was the 3rd of August, the day before.
And was that, you just met him in the house or?
Yeah, I went to his girlfriend's house because we were going to go to a barbecue, but he didn't want to come. So we was in the house till quite late, and then we left out and went to the barbecue. And I remember how we was talking, me and him was having a conversation, because I was kind of stressed out that day, and then we left, and we left him there, sleeping. "4 months ago, when we buried my brother, I haven't been back since that. I think the last walk was when we came through here, actually as the last see-off with my brother, and that was the last time I actually passed through, and after that, I haven't been back since then. lot of memories, but I think that today is one of the thing about me facing my fears, because me coming over here, it's like I still expect to see him. I still expect him to walk from a corner giving a cheeky grin with his hood up. Knowing this is the place where we knew all the nooks and crannies, I still look in the nooks and crannies and expect that he will come out of them, but it's like I've got to come to reality to know that he isn't going to come out of one of the nooks and crannies and he is actually gone. It still feels like a dream. We went home and we were expecting, okay, then there's going to be a knock at the door. There's going to have someone that's going to come and say something that it's not real, or he's been injured or something, but that just never happened. And that was the Friday. I was just thinking, okay, he's gone. And by the Saturday, we still didn't have answers. By the Saturday, we went to identify his body at the morgue. And that was just like, the world just started spinning then, like, okay, it's really happening, but why has nobody come to identify, and why has nobody come to say anything?
Okay, so you were very young during the 80s riots, but what can you remember from them?
The smell of smoke, looking out the window, seeing people running and hearing glass being broken. You could just see everything from where we was, because we was on a high floor as well, so it was just like looking down. Saw the police, flashing lights, saw the rioters, smoke, cars being set alight. It kicked off at night time and it went right through until, well, it felt like it went on forever. But by the time we did finally fall asleep and wake up in the morning, it was just like, it just felt like a ghost town. It was just like nobody around. Like burnt out cars and rubbish and things like that. I think being a child and being on an estate like Broadwater Farm, you'd always come across something that you wasn't supposed to see. So like it'd be somebody fighting with a machete or something, but it also held a lot of good memories, because it's like everyone was one family. They'd bring a jerk pan outside, everybody would have a barbecue and everybody would just be one, basically. Like, we've all grown up in here, we're all one big happy family, like, so does that mean I'm a gang member? Because I associate myself with all these youth? They're just looking for a crying out hand. They put us here because of what? It's the projects. If we was in America, here would be classed as the project, so I don't understand why it's any different, because we're here. And where they've put us is how they expect you not to bond. Everybody's going to be one big happy family. So this is what it is, Broadwater Farm. We went down there for answers and we got told someone's coming in half an hour, someone's coming in 20 minutes, someone's coming, but nobody ever did come. They were acting very disrespectful, you know, and I think that in itself started to make heat boil as well. Like, it's a situation that you need to deal with. You haven't dealt with it properly, and then you're taking pictures of people and laughing and things like that. So we were just like, enough is enough. I looked back and I just heard run. Pastor Nims just said run. We was all like, it was a piece of protest. We all came out with pastors and everything like that, like youth leaders. And when I heard that pastor say run, we all started running, and then I heard some bricks being thrown. I thought, we just went mad. It was just like the world was just spinning. Like, I felt like time had stood still, and I was still looking out the window at something that had actually happened. But now, the fact of it was, I was a lady standing in the middle of what's going on. I had flashbacks. It's like, you know, when you hear the noise, and the noise, like you can hear people talking, it just felt like that. But I was running, but I could still like hear noises, and it's quite mad.
And what was your reaction to the subsequent looting and rioting which spread all over London?
I did not approve, because that was not getting the answers that we needed to get. The looting, you're taking stuff for your own purpose. You're not taking stuff to come and salvage our needs. It wasn't for us. It was for your own selfish needs. And because of what you've done, it turned into something different. It took a lot longer for us to get the answers that we needed to get because of the violence and everything that broke out. So something that could have been, well, it's still not solved now, but something that could have been solved quickly just seemed to drag on because they seem to cover it with something else now. Oh, because of him, there was looting. No, it's not because of him. He wasn't doing the looting. He's laying in a box with us not having answers. The people them that were doing looting were doing looting because they were angry. And the government need to search within themselves to find out why were they angry. I don't think that any lessons have been learned. I don't think they still are not listening. Because obviously for it to kick off a second time, and it's the same kind of predicament of why it happened the first time, somebody being killed as well, and then it's happened again. It's obviously they're listening, but they're not doing. So we have doers and then we have non-doers. But some of us want to make a change and some of us just don't. For one, with my brother's situation, I hope that they think before they do things. And they need to put other people's feelings in progress. Whether the person was a gangster or not a gangster, that person still has a family. That person is still not even a dog. Not even a dog is treated like that. So what they need to do is, whether the person is a gangster or portrayed as a gangster or not, they need to deal with the situation a lot better than what they did. And I just hope that it never happens again. Because not only do you have to deal with the heartache and everything else, but you have to deal with... Every time they talk about the riots now, they bring up my brother's face. Like, we're still trying to get over him being gone. We know he's gone and it's a lot of hurt, but like every time they do something with the riots, like they associate the riots and the looting to him. The riots and the looting had nothing to do with him. It wasn't us that was doing the rioting, so it's very strange. It wasn't us that was doing the looting. So I just hope they can deal with the situation. I hope they start listening. Not just listening, but actually hearing. There's a difference between I hear you and I'm listening. And they need to verify the difference between them and do what they need to do.
So we wanted you to see that because we wanted you to understand the whys behind the uprisings rather than just knowing about the uprisings.
We're moving on. We're moving on to an artist, another rapper called Strizzy Strauss. So enjoy this video and we'll see you on the other side.
This one here is for the grinders, the day shift. Listen, hey yo, early mornings, my day starts 6:30. My alarm rings, then my heart sinks. Another day, another quid be the target. I pull her close, smell her smell, then I spark it. Get my shoes, make moves to my park whip. I'm on the grind, but I'm in a ramp with the hard thing. I work a hard shift for a hard. I can't wait to quit and do the starting. I'm sick of menial work. I'm trying to reach my worth to make this world a better place for my little girls. Trust. And as the world turns, sees the more I learn. The more you earn means nothing when you leave the earth. The dichotomy of living round poverty. Trying to live right when the right ain't got a P. Trying to stay alive on the grind for my little seed. Doing what I need for the team, making sure we eat. I wanna blow up big, I wanna do it big. I wanna feel how it feels to quit the day shift. I want a bigger crib, I wanna live
live life rich. So right now, man, I work in the day shift. I wanna blow up big, I wanna do it big. I wanna feel how it feels to quit the day shift. I want a bigger crib, I wanna live life rich. So right now, man, I work in the day shift.
7:20, I sign in, I make a drink, put my lunch in the fridge and start another shift. Team briefs, my targets, they got me pissed, unappreciated.
Something's gotta give.
They got me feeling I'm
Worthless on purpose.
No progression,
So I work on these verses.
I got a dream and I'll be
Damned if they burst it.
First chance I get,
Hey yo, I'm splurting.
I'm sick of being here, at times I feel to shed a tear.
Yes.
This time next year,
I best be out of it.
Cause if I'm not, I swear to God I'll burn this place down. In other words, man, I want it,
Ain't no stopping now.
Ain't no copying out a grind,
Trying to cop an house.
Somewhere foreign, see my seeds in a cap and gown.
Hey.
It's tough now, but I'm strong, ain't no topping out. Resolute for my youths, trying to make them proud.
I wanna blow up big, I wanna do it big. I wanna feel how it feels to quit the day shift.
I want a bigger crib,
I wanna live life rich. So right now, man, I work in the day shift.
I wanna blow up big,
I wanna do it big.
I wanna feel
How it feels to quit the day shift.
I want a bigger crib,
I wanna live life rich. So right now, man, I work in the day shift.
4:30, it's home time, I wash my hands.
Yes.
Grab my bag, my lunchbox, and light a fag.
Inhale, exhale, I've had a long day.
It's 2 G's on the scales,
No man, I CJ.
Self-analysis, I contemplate selling bits. Jackie Brothers, then I realise, man, I on a ting. Setting trends, dropping gems
For my little friends,
trying to show them self-worth
more than dividends.
And though our brother stress, struggling trying to pay the rent.
Ay.
I know it's all a test of weights there to build the strength.
Trust.
Necessary to win,
They never stop a king.
I got the will, the drive,
And plus I never quit.
It's in my heritage
To make it look effortless.
Mommy did it on her own with
Few relatives.
She told me say hard times are simply testing us, making sure we're strong for when he blesses
Hey,
us.
I wanna do it big, I wanna do it big.
I wanna feel
How it feels to quit the day shift.
I want a bigger crib.
I wanna live life rich. So right now, man, I work in the day shift.
I wanna blow up big. I wanna do it big. I wanna feel how it feels to quit the day shift. I want a bigger crib.
I wanna live life rich. So right now, man, I work in the day shift.
So that brings our show to a close tonight. I mean, it's been emotional.
It has. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, you know. Just going back, looking at some of that footage, it kind of stirs up some deep feelings.
Mm.
Yeah.
I really wanted us to understand, you know, there was a lot of talk when we come to the Black Lives Matter movement that we've just come to, and a lot of people didn't understand why people were standing up and why people were complaining and why we were saying that we've had enough. And I think this show tonight is the real explanation of why and how we've got to this point, and having knowledge that, things are different, but are they any better?
Yeah.
So next week we're looking at moving forward. We're looking at now, how things are now and where we go in the future. So please stick with us. So it's goodbye from me, but before we do that, we have to thank
our partners, Small Green Shoots, LCB Depot, thank you, First Contact 2, and our funders, Hertiage Funds Arts Council, for this great opportunity to put this showcase together, and we thank you all for that.
And thank you, the viewers, for sticking with us, enjoying the show. Let us know your thoughts. Give us put your comments in. Like the Facebook page. Subscribe to the YouTube channels as well. And stick with us. Come and see us next week. See you later.
Bye.
Oh, sorry. Brother to Brother is our final act. And straight after them, we're going to be moving on to Leicester Community Radio. But now it's Brother to Brother playing us out this week, and they are a fabulous band, and they're going to just lift us up a little bit because it's been a lot tonight.
Yeah.
So let's make you smile now. You're going to enjoy yourself, have a couple of drinks, a nice party, and go for it. Night.
Hey, this is Brother to Brother featuring Letitia George, and this is Flash Black, presented by Opal22's Arts and Edutainment. We are so excited to be here. Make sure that you tune in every single Friday. Trust me, you do not want to miss out on all of the entertainment that you're gonna get, baby. Let's do this. Hey. When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight seems impossible to fail.
Take it away, baby.
Getting hot up in here.